already, see the red subscribe button, please click it. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Welcome to Shannon Confidential. I am Shannon, your host, and Shannon Confidential is about life, love, and everything in between. And sometimes the in-between, we need a serious amount of inspiration, whatever you need to be inspired to do. But today you're going to meet Marlo Higgins. She is Chief Inspirational Officer. She's an author, a podcaster, a YouTuber. She is probably the most focused, disciplined woman I have ever had the opportunity to even speak to on the phone. So I can't wait to bring her to you. She is so focused and has such a plan for your success, your financial success, just success in life with her podcast and just her speaking. She had me on the phone and I was just like running around the house when I got done. She had me so inspired. And in a time where we just need some positive inspiration, I'm telling you, Marlo Higgins is the bomb, and I can't wait for you to meet her. So here she comes, Marlo Higgins. Okay, everybody, here she is, Marlo Higgins. I am so excited. She, like I said in the intro, you are going to finish this podcast and just like have such a plan, because this woman is the bomb. I told you she was the bomb in the beginning. She's the bomb. So Marlo, thank you for being on Shannon Confidential. I can't wait for this conversation with you because I could use some serious inspiration, just because I want to do like when we talked about get to the next level and get to that place. And you were like, this is what you got to do. So tell everybody what you do, how you came to here, all the stuff that you're involved in. I want them to get to know the woman I got to know.
Absolutely, Shannon. Thank you. This is an absolute delight. I just appreciate the platform and being able to share this message with other people. You know, Shannon Confidential, that's a powerhouse podcast right there. I know your audience is fired up and they support and love you. So, you know, I want to bring as much value as possible, and I'm excited for our listeners today. So my name, Marlo Higgins, right? I got into being an entrepreneur in 2005. I call myself a triple crown entrepreneur. For those of you that don't know what that means, it's a phrase that I've coined myself. And that means that
I was wondering about that.
Yeah. So I started a company, I've rebranded another, and I've launched my own. And so, you know, it's just important to share that real personal story, because it really blends into how I serve today. So 2005, myself, two other business partners came together with a product and an idea. I came on board at that point as a VP of sales, had not done that before, but I met my business partner, one of them, through a lot of the boards that we were serving on. And she said, hey, I'm going to start this company. You'd be an amazing vice president of sales, which means I'm going to empower you to start and oversee a sales team, right? Well, that's a pretty big job, okay? And especially for a startup company. Now you add in some venture capital money, which even raises the risk even higher. Yeah. So there was just a lot at stake. And I'm proud to say that we took that concept, that idea, we built a business plan, and in less than 36 months, we were 39 states, developing international market and superseding all goals possible. So, you know, that's fantastic. Yeah, that's really where the story begins. And that's where I can honestly say I hang my hat as a true entrepreneur, because I had to figure it out, right? I didn't know how to do it. So I adopted the mantra by Earl Nightingale that if you spend an hour of study or research in your chosen field, you'll be a national expert in 5 years or less. That's what I did. So, you know, wow. I mean, yeah, you know, so if you don't know how to do it, and anybody who's listening to this today and they're inspired or they're feeling stuck, you have it in you, because the answer is within. You just have to want it bad enough. And then you connect the dots, the resources, and the people, and it can become your reality. And so, you know, that's where it started. Of course, 2005, I'm in that role for 36 months. It's the 2008 financial crisis. We were having some channel conflict in the company we had built. The executive team at that point started to make some decisions and conflict with doing an online presence with our sales organization. And so my job with the sales team, you know, there was just
Yeah.
Things weren't happening. So I was wooed by this other company for over 6 months, and they said, hey, we want you to do what you've done for your first company. We'd love to have it. I remember being out to lunch with those two other executives that afternoon, and they said, what's it going to take for you to say yes to us? And basically at the point, money was everything. And I chased a paycheck. I doubled my income in a worldwide recession without a college education. Basically, I was the highest paid employee at our first company. And I just doubled the number. And I thought, oh, hell no, they're not going to say yes to that. But they did. And in less than 24 hours, I was segueing myself into a new sales organization. Proud to say. Yeah, they did. And I'm proud to say that Shannon, in that situation, we took profits up 220% the first 180 days. So what does that mean? That's round two. So taking a 6-year-old organization, turning it around enough to supersede profits, things that they had never seen before. What that gave me was a really clear understanding that I know people and I know performance. But before I go into the third realm of launching my own company, in 2008, I took that position. I chased the paycheck. I always like to say passion over paycheck. I was absolutely miserable. I wouldn't recommend making that move to absolutely anybody.
I was going to ask that question.
I don't care who you are. You shouldn't do it. I mean, don't chase the money, because the joy, the peace, the power is not in the paycheck. At the time, I did what I needed to survive for our family and for the current situation we were in. So, do I have regrets? Yes and no. If I were to do it again, I wouldn't have, but at the time I needed to. So I think the divine shows up in the most powerful ways. God knew how miserable I was. And so he gifted me with a brain tumor in 2010.
Okay, wasn't expecting that. Okay.
Yeah, nobody does.
That's not what I thought was the next sentence going to be.
Yeah. So, here I am, an entrepreneur, absolutely crushing it, building a company, rebranding another. And in 2010, was given the diagnosis of a right-wing spherical meningioma, which is AKA a brain tumor. And like I said, I say that's a gift because I was so miserable in that position, and it was going to take something that big, because I am that fierce, to sideline me. Okay. So that to me was a catalyst moment in my career. So I took myself out of the game in 2011. I completely stepped out of the career space, and I became a professional patient with an amazing care team. Yeah. Let me just kind of run some numbers. I mean, I had 54 test procedures and surgeries in that 1 year. So 52 weeks, I'm dealing with 54 things. That's something major and massive, like literally every week.
I was going to say, it is endless.
So to frame that perspective, I mean, our boys were 13 and 15 at the time. I'm 30 years married now, looking back, and, very happy. But at the time, it was a pivotal moment. I just remember thinking, I'm never going to see our oldest son to his 16th birthday. And, so
I have children. I can't, my goosebumps.
Yeah. And I share that because there's a story of resilience here, right? And a story of belief and a level of confidence that you have to endure as not only an entrepreneur, but if you're going to live a big, happy life. And so I took that situation in 2010 and I turned it into a gift. Like I said, I went into the hospital looking like I was selling pharmaceuticals, not getting them. I mean, I would wear a skirt and heels and go in like, I'm just going to crush this damn thing and do what I need to. And that was like that mental toughness that was necessary to survive that year. Yeah. So, that was an amazing story. Now that's been 10 years ago. Since then, I have found that I am what I title tumorlicious, meaning I've had tumors removed from my brain, my breast, my stomach. So the saga continues. It doesn't go away. Happy to say none of them are cancerous, but God has given me this gift to really understand the care team and how the hospital system works. Okay. So, in that day or that year of stepping out as a professional patient, I said, okay, when I get the all clear, when I know that I can get back to things, what do I want to do? And obviously, like I said earlier, I know people and I know performance, right? I know how to connect the dots. I know how to say, like, that's the goal. Let's get it done. Yes. And so I built my own brand. And that's what I do today. So 2011, I stepped in, wrote my business plan. Now I'll tell you, it's a 4-day work week because knowing what I had just been through, I could not sustain a 5-day week. I literally only have 72 hours of production. So I'm very, when you say disciplined in the introduction, Mondays are growth and team and
Okay.
the necessary strategies to build a very successful brand. But then Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, those are the 72 hours that I serve, and we profit in our company. So, very, very clear, very directed. But here's the thing too, and for any entrepreneur who's listening to this, when I stepped into that space, I gave myself grace. And I don't think a lot of us do that. But what I did is say, okay, I'm just going to step in. I'm going to get my domain. I'm going to be marlohiggins.com. I'm going to help people, and I'm going to bring performance forward, whatever performance means, right? And I just did it on the premise of 3 questions. And I said, I'm going to give myself a year, and then I will build a brand. So I entered into that year of 2011, bought the domain, started my own company with 3 questions: who hired me, why they hired me, and the results that were received. And that's where 10 years later, we're very sustainable, profitable, have grown 50% year-over-year growth, 10 years solid, where most companies cave in the first 5. We've had substantial growth. It's attributed to just giving yourself some time, asking some really clear questions, and being able to kind of recalibrate your business, tweak, pivot, or change and omit every 12 weeks, 90 days. So I'm going to kind of just step in. That's my origin story, Shannon. So
I'm just floored, because we had a lovely conversation, and I'm hearing some new things here that makes you even more spectacular. That and you did say things, like that discipline, that drive, that commitment. And I do believe, as much as that's a mindset to get you through anything in life, certainly medical procedures, also anything in work, it's just a fabulous strength that you have, and nothing held you down. I'm kind of just a little taken back, I'm a little shocked here. I don't really know what to say, but I'll think of something. But so now what is it that you do now? So people be like, hey, she's so successful. What is it now that you're doing?
So it's interesting. So my title became a Chief Inspirational Officer, right? So what that truly is like my greatest gift. I inspire people to perform. And, performance means different things to different people, just like the definition of success means different things. So, I really pride myself on being a relatable person who really has the power to see the finish line and know what it takes to get to the goal. And there's, as there's multiple ways of doing that. But the way that I've looked at and the way that I've researched people and performance, and this is something I really want to share with people, because I don't think a lot of us understand, but inspiration is vision driven. Motivation is goal driven. So in order to be inspired, we have to have a clear vision of what's possible. Like, just imagine if we did that, or, what is that vision that you can set for yourself? Now, once the vision is set, then the goals can happen. And when somebody lacks motivation, they say, I can't get out of bed in the morning. I'm having a lousy month. What that tells me is they just don't have the goals that are needed to be able to check the box. Because like you say, if I'm going to lose 10 pounds in 30 days, that's a goal. Like, that's a sustainable thing. It's something you can check the box once it's done. And oftentimes you're motivated to get it done. So there's a pretty big, definition when it comes to inspiring people to perform, and really understanding, is it an inspiration issue or is it a motivation issue?
That's an incredible way of looking at it. A lot of people, I think, like you were saying, they don't realize that there's a difference, and there is a difference, and you have to have both.
Yeah, you do actually.
Successful with just one.
No, because you have to, and here's another thing too, in working with leaders, the greatest leaders paint the clearest pictures. So your ability as a leader within your organization or independently, you've got to have a crystal clear picture of where you're headed or what it is that you're striving to achieve. Once that happens, everything gets a lot easier. So clarity of maybe the avatar and the people you serve, or clarity of the product or project that you want to get off the ground. When you pull back and you can give yourself time to get really crystal clear, like granular clear, so simple that you can see it possible, then you can take off.
A vision.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely.
That's just remarkable. That I just have to tell you, I could just sit here and just talk to you for hours. It's just I've never been the type to need anybody to light a fire under my butt. if I want to do something, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to give it my best and see it through until the next challenge.
Yeah.
With that said, that doesn't mean just because I'm self-motivated that I still find you incredibly inspirational. Just because you say things in a different way or a little bit more eye-opening to me, or even though I'm motivated, it's just a little bit more of a jump in my step. And it's incredible that there's no wonder you've gotten this far, dear Lord.
Well, like breeds like, Shannon, you know that. Like when you put yourself in the room with the people that you share that same energy with, and we all vibrate at a frequency of action. That's when I wrote my first book, The Making of a Maverick. It's, intended to vibrate at a frequency of action, because nothing happens until you take action, right? We can think things and we can write down the greatest plans, but if we don't take an action on it, we're just going to sit idle. And I believe in the outcomes and the results, right? I'm not one to coffee talk. I think anybody can get that tone just by listening to this episode right here. I find it frustrating for somebody just to build a plan, then sit on the sideline and go, yeah, that'd be great. I'd rather say, let's chunk it down. Let's just start to piece it apart, take one step at a time, and then let's get to the goal. And so I understand it's not easy for everybody to do that, but on the Strength Finder scale, futuristic is my number one strength. And that's where that comes into play. And I believe too, stay in your strength zone, know the things you're good at. I have a team of people that work with me in my company, and frankly, I farm everything out to them. They're fully empowered. They probably have way more power in this company than I do, just because I let them have the reins to thrive in the areas. Our podcast team, my social media manager, our chief creative officer, all of those people are doing the things that light them up. Those things don't light me up. I love to coach, right? I love to get in the room and I love to inspire performance, and I want to see an outcome. So when you ask the question, what do you do today? That's how I serve. I'm a coach at the core, also a podcaster, author, and bringing these messages alive to inspire more people to get great things done.
And a lot of what you're just saying, and when I was in the workforce and went to the office every day, there is something so huge. And if you are a CEO or even a small company and you are a leader in any way, use your people to their strength. Don't do it all. You are so much more powerful together. And let people shine, and then all of you shine more, and that's more success or reaching your goal faster. What you just said, I've worked in the opposite of that, and the frustration is, well, I'm a podcaster now. There you go. Yeah. But it just makes my heart happy when I hear someone understand that the team around you and how well you build it and how well you let them just go at it with everything they're good at. Yeah. What comes from that is incredible.
Well, that's empowered people, right? And everybody wants a voice. Everybody wants a platform. And it's our job as leaders to ensure that that happens. Because the minute you give somebody a voice, even by asking the question, so you're the one in that role, what could we do different to make it easier? Or what could we do to enhance, what we're doing? I think just asking people those key questions, giving them a voice, letting them give their input, it gets amazing buy-in. And then that buy-in's easy to leverage, okay? Because you got all these wonderful people out there doing some amazing things. And it's the control that is tempering people's success today. They think they have to do it all. Or, they're in such control of the situation that they don't give the freedom and the empowerment. And that's really where the magic happens.
I absolutely 100% agree with that. I swear that should be on a Hallmark card.
Yeah. So, that was where the brand started out, right? Like I said, 10 years, as we all know, we evolve, right? The more I grow, the more our clients grow. And so we've evolved into a new platform and positioning called the Having It All platform, right? So we've gone from really understanding that motivation, that inspiration component, and what a chief inspirational officer does. But then now we're leveraging it to a different space. And that's having it all, and what the definition of having it all really means. And so our conversations with our clients on our podcast, that's really where it all stems from, is that conversation of, what does having it all really mean? So when I look at that,
that's different to everybody.
Oh, 100%. It's like the definition of success. So I'm going to, throw that back to you, Shannon. Like when you hear that and being asked the question, like, what does having it all mean to you? How would you describe that?
Having it all to me is first, I would like to maintain how happy and how much fun I am having doing these podcasts, the people I'm meeting, the message that they're bringing to me, that I'm bringing to the viewers. That to me is so much, almost having it all. I've never been happier in my life. The other side to that is financially. Would I love for this podcast to get to a point where it helps me financially? 100%. It's not a hobby. So I'm trying to get to that hurdle from where it's still fun, but it's fun and it's now my income. That's the level I want to get to. I actually, after talking with you, I just bit the bullet and invested some money into helping my podcast grow. And they've been wonderful, and my website's almost done. And I just want to keep climbing. So having it all to me, I don't know if okay, this is going to sound crazy. I don't know if I'll ever have it all, because I just want to keep climbing. I just want to keep meeting people. I just want to keep bringing the message out. And I just want to keep being successful at it in so many different ways, whether it be affecting people's lives or bringing in an income, still working with my daughter, helping me with the podcast. There's so much success I feel like I'm having now. I want to keep all that and just make it bigger.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is like, is just to continue to evolve, right? Never stay stagnant and bring joy, so as long as there's joy and you're evolving, that to you is really having it all. And I think there's different times in our careers and in our life and situations that there's an ebb and flow to having it all. What does it mean? I think when we're younger and we're having children, that's kind of having it all and having the family happy and all of that. Then the kids leave home and then you kind of, go into a different space and, how are you using your time and what that means. So I it's an evolution, a constant evolution. And I find great joy in that. But here's another thing too, I think this will resonate for a lot of your listeners. Having it all is actually being given permission to have it all, being given permission to say it's okay to have a boundary. It's okay to say no. It's okay to put your kids or your family first. It's okay not to miss out on things, because really there's a lot of power in that. And sometimes we just need permission to be able to just say, hey, I am going to have it all.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. And people too, I think, don't even realize the power of like even positioning that and saying, I'm going to strive for having it all. And for me, my definition is peaceful achievement. As long as I'm peaceful, and peaceful means present, right? I'm here, I'm now, I'm with Shannon, I'm in this moment. I'm not thinking about what I did or where I'm going to go. Okay. So I'm just in great peace. And when you're in that space, then I think anything is possible. Okay. Because you're cutting out all the noise. But then I'm achieving something. I'm moving the needle, right? I'm not just sitting stagnant. So to me, having it all, as long as I'm peaceful at the core and I'm achieving something, checking the box, that to me is having it all.
Yes, that's so many people, to say having it all means you have to be the top CEO, you have to have this huge company, you have to make all this money, you have to keep your family fed, you have to have a big house, a great car. Maybe to some people that is having it all, but that's not the definition. So when people, man, woman, whatever, want to have it all, they're allowed to have whatever their all is, and people need to back off.
Amen. Yeah. So, another thing too that I've learned with goal setting, that chasing the goal is actually chasing the feeling that the goal gets you. So it's not like driving the Tesla. Okay. It's the feeling of like, maybe you came from nothing and you've had this incredible circumstance that's allowed you the finances or the means or whatever to drive the Tesla. Okay. The Tesla's just the vehicle, but it's all that goes into that goal of everything that you accomplish to make that your reality. That's truly what you're chasing. So it's really the feeling. It's not the goal itself. How do you resonate to that, Shannon?
Well, I like my car. No, I'm just kidding. I've always tried to have a nice car simply because I spend so much time in it. So I was very proud of that. I was very proud of anything I earned. I didn't always have a whole bunch. So when it comes to something that I have, I take it very, very personally. And it means a lot to me. It's not being materialistic. That's not it at all.
Right.
It's just certain things are my own little checkbox up here going, you got it, girl, you did it, you earned it. And I'm okay with that, so if someone wants to drive the Tesla, go drive the Tesla. But my goals, if I can get to point A to point B in a car I like, that's great, but that's not my goal.
Yeah.
That's not my goal.
So
my goals are so much deeper, and when I reach them, there is just a sense of accomplishment and pride and self-respect. And that's why, like you used the word evolving. That's why with this podcast, there's like a whole new part that I want to start bringing in that has a little bit more to do with my background that I think will be nice and exciting. But I'm not afraid of that challenge. I'm not afraid to say, okay, I'm loving this. I'm having the greatest time. I could just keep doing this. That's great. Mm-hmm. But I'm going to bring in another part that's maybe a little bit more personal to me. And I hope it goes well. I won't know until I try, but I am going to fearlessly try.
Yeah, no, and that's what matters. And, so if you're listening to this, understand that, it's chasing the goal is actually chasing the feeling the goal gets you. If there's a message, and, that's part of having it all. So like this whole new platform, the conversations, and being able to allow people to think differently about those things and about their achievements, I think is a catalyst. And I know that the clients that we serve, the people that we work with are, they value time over money, and that's a big piece too.
Yes.
I think we've all witnessed through the pandemic, things just operate differently. And I don't like to even bring up that pandemic conversation, but, there's a value system that I think has shifted for a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And, whether you're coming out of college and you're going to, say, I'm going to be successful and it's going to take all this to get there, I think for those of us that maybe are a little bit more seasoned or experienced in that space, realize that it's time over money, and there's a way to achieve having all of those things, but it's the approach is different.
Yes. Yeah. Telling you should have your own podcast. So
we do have the podcast, 22 minutes to have it all.
Tell us, like, when someone tunes into your podcast, what is it? Is it more of this? Is it specific?
It's real and raw conversations. I mean, it's 22 minutes. So the reason we did that, So let me share the analogy of the 22 minutes. If you're watching a sitcom, they're 30 minutes in length. You remove the commercials and it's 22 minutes of content. So that's where, I don't know, that's just been our sticking point, because like I said, the whole brand vibrates at a frequency of action. Just my motivational tone, the God-given talents, the people that line up to get coaching or to align with our services that we offer are looking for that type of thing. So 22 minutes, it's high level conversations with amazing and dynamic people, just like you have as your hosts and guests. But I want real transparent conversations with them. I want them to share the stories that are the most important. It's not like just the Pollyanna top of mind, but the digging into the weeds part of those conversations. They're 22 minutes. We go with the goal that the conversation is so rich that you got to sit in the car for just 3 more minutes to finish the episode before you go into the grocery store, into the meeting, because it's so darn good. Happy to say we're rated as the top 10% globally. We have a lot of reviews and subscriptions. And so I'm very blessed to be able to have that platform to serve.
You and all your people. Now, Marlo has mentioned Making of a Maverick. She's mentioned her podcast. All of her, she's the inspirational speaker. Everything that she mentions today, her book and what she has yet to mention, I will make sure people do not worry. You will be so hooked up with everything Marlo, because she's impressive.
Oh, thank you.
So tell us, last time we spoke, you had some ideas going on. What's your goals now?
Yeah. So here's the thing. We're going into 2022. So this is our year, the 22 minutes. So like the 22-minute podcast, I'm writing a book right now. What does it take to have it all? We have the new quiz that's coming out. So our website is going through an engineering shift of change. Just met with my team 2 hours prior to this episode recording. And we're excited for what we're bringing forward. Master classes, just different ways to dive into the topic of having it all and what it takes. I mean, we're talking boundaries, time, confidence, synergy, systems, all of the things that go into what it takes to build a business where you can have all those things. So, really rich and powerful things. We're really excited. And 2022 is our year. Our book will be published. Our podcast has been reworked already. So we've already kind of started that footprint, but so many more things. So you'll be able to take an assessment to understand, do you have what it takes to have it all? And the different boxes you need to check to in order, I'm moving forward. Because this is the thing that I've learned too, high achievers and high performers really need three things. They need to be validated, inspired, and recognized. And so this feeds that validation component, right? And the validation is just knowing that we're kind of headed in the right direction, or whatever our gut is telling us, it's an all systems go. And so keep doing more of it, or keep, the foot on the gas and head in that direction, because validation is a key catalyst to our success. But we also know that we have to be recognized, and we have to have that vision of inspiration to keep going. That's the fire in the belly to get out of bed in the morning and make it a reality.
Yeah, I have to. I mean, it's great. I like to do the podcast. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, no doubt. There's hours and hours that spend into just preparing, interviewing, production, but there is just an excitement every single day where I get up and just can't wait to start plugging away. I'm telling you, when you're doing, especially what you love, and getting to your peaceful achievement, it's so rewarding, all on your own. There's just a beautiful feeling in that.
Well, every guest is a gift you get to unwrap every day. I mean, because you really don't know, right? When people become your product, it's the most, unscripted product or gift or whatever that you could have. And so by you tapping into it and offering a platform like this, having conversations as rich as you do, Shannon, and how you approach it, I think is the reason why you're so successful.
Well, thank you. Coming from someone like you, that's a huge compliment. That's going to take me into the next month. So
that's great. Yeah. So yes.
All right. So I do have a question, because I was never a good test taker. So part of your next, a peaceful achievement is the podcast, the new book, and a quiz. Is this a pass or fail quiz? What do you mean by quiz?
No, working with the developer. So it kind of is an offshoot to the book and some of the topics in there. And so it just kind of like right now, currently, if you go to the website, we have the Maverick Assessment, right? What that Maverick Assessment does, it talks about the 4 pillars of performance, which are clarity, action, confidence, and risk. Now, when we developed that, it was really important to kind of measure where you stand within that. Okay. Some of us have greater clarity, other people are more risk takers. But when we really understand, when I talk about living in your strengths, if you are a risk taker, how can we meld that into being more of a risk taker? What goes into it? So the assessment, as we are currently building it and going into this new platform, it's really going to be kind of along those lines too. It's going to take some of the core competencies that it takes to having it all, and find out, like, how close are you? Like, where do we need to close those gaps, or how big is that gap? And it's not necessarily looking at the deficits, but it's just like, okay, where can you put more power into the fuel of the things that you're really phenomenal at? And I think that's what assessments tell us. And so, I started assessments because I'm sure anybody who's listened to this podcast episode here, we're all fans of Brendon Burchard, right? He writes the book High Performance Habits. And I was always enamored that he had an assessment in the book that was complimentary. You can go out and you could understand, where do you stand within your habits of being a high performer? And so it would just give you an outlook as to, like, do you need to influence more? Like maybe the habit of influence is something that you can, improve or increase. So I've always believed in the power of an assessment, just kind of checking in. So no, never a pass or fail, rather just greater information.
And I think that's incredible, because a lot of times, say you want to start a business, your own business, you want to, you make a name for yourself. That's great. And that's wonderful. And you have these goals. But I think a lot of success is knowing what your obstacles are. If you're not so fully aware of your obstacles, and only thing you're going to do is plug forward, you're either going to skip right over them and they're going to come back to haunt you, or you're going to hit that speed bump and you're going to get stuck because it's an obstacle and you didn't address it in the first place. So assessments, it's almost like, even if you're having a conversation with somebody, or maybe even an argument, and you got to check yourself. you got to check yourself sometimes, and sometimes you might have a little high perception of yourself.
Yeah.
And once you do one of these tests, maybe you realize, maybe you're stronger here and not so much here, and that will affect greatly what you're doing in the future. So I like assessments. Yeah. I've watched so many people take them, and then they get their results and they're like, well, that's not true. And it's like, well,
Well, and here's the thing too, when I'm the coach, right? When I'm in the driver's seat and I have a client and I can see where they stand on the performance rank, and it gives me insight into that individual, right? So if I'm working with somebody and their confidence level comes in very, very low, then I immediately can tell that's an area that I can step in and work with them on. I don't even need to bring that as a glaring situation, but I can teach them, more about confidence. And that's, so clarity, action, confidence, and risk. Those are the 4 fundamentals. And I've immersed a lot of time and energy into it because we have to have the clarity. We talked about that at the beginning, but then we have to have the confidence to be able to take action. And we have to understand the actions we need to take. And when you do all of those things, you can take risk. And that risk is outside of the comfort zone, right? To be a risk taker.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Oh my God, it takes a lot. You gotta, it is. I mean, like what you just said, I'm going to try this new thing and I'm going to see if it works. You're a risk taker, Shannon. Like that's an asset. If you don't take risk, you'll never know. And so you can go at the end of the day or to your grave and go, God, if I would have just tried that, if I would have just had the guts to have the conversation or to give it a try. And, so we don't want regrets. And so risk is really overcoming regret. Like just take the damn risk. What's going to happen?
Okay, so it doesn't work out. You're back where you started.
Right.
That's it.
But somebody says no.
Like I would rather fail miserably than not try. Right. I just can't. I can't accept I can't accept that you didn't do something because of fear. Come on.
Right. And so I successful
people. I get other people, but I can't.
Yeah. Yeah. And so successful people are risk takers. And, so just understanding risk and it's scary, but it doesn't have to be. And so, I love teaching people risk. It's just like, what the hell? Okay. Do the sales call, ask for the proposal, ask for the business. What do they say? No. Well, that doesn't even require a Band-Aid. They say no, you say next. It's like,
you have nothing right now. So you've lost nothing by asking.
Totally. Yeah. So let me give you a story about that. When I was 19, I moved out of a completely different state. Again, I said I doubled my income in a worldwide recession without a college education. I'm very self-taught. And I was 19 years old, had an opportunity to move out of state. And I said, okay, talking about risk, I'm going to rent a U-Haul. I'm going to load up all my contents. I'm going to move out of state. And the only way that I'm going to successfully be able to do that is say, hey, if it doesn't work out, guess what? I bet I can rent another U-Haul. I bet I can load all that stuff back up, and I bet I can move back. Right.
Oh my God, so you sound like my daughter. She's like,
you look at that and you're like, okay, well, that's not so bad. Let's try it. You'll never know. Well, I'm happy to say I never had to move back. I took the risk, it worked out, and I have the reward. So, I think that's always just been kind of my inner makeup as far as like being a risk taker, having nothing to lose and everything to gain. And I think when you look at things through that lens, it just becomes a lot easier to do.
Yeah. And I would think, so you're a coach, I've coached dancing or cheerleading, but not, trying to get people into a different mindset. What's harder to coach, confidence or teaching someone to be fearless and take a risk? Which is harder? Have you ever had someone that was both?
Well, yes. I mean, they both kind of go, there's a parallel there. Okay. So let's break them down real quick. Confidence is the purity of action produced by a mind free of doubt. Okay. So in order to be confident, it's 2 clear things. We need to be clear on the actions and we need to not doubt our actions. Now, when you're talking about risk, again, that's fear. Okay. So what you're hearing me describe really are like feelings. Okay. So to overcome a feeling, you do it by having a sage mindset. Okay. So like face the fear and do it anyway. So confidence, risk, all of these things, it's that self-talk that we have within. How are you positioning yourself? Are you going to the gym and doing mental push-ups? Because that's going to be an asset in order for you to achieve. So it's a kind of a mix of things. Can you teach confidence and risk? Absolutely.
Okay.
If you break it down far enough and you ask some key competencies and then you can show people and measure, absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Because I know people who are incredibly confident. They're very, very successful. They're so smart in what they do. They have great ideas, but they're doing very well in their current role. They're not necessarily happy, but they're doing very well. And they have all of these qualifications that you just spoke about, but they won't try the new thing because they won't risk the career that's actually paying all the bills and it's good money.
Yeah. And so that's the unknown.
Like that out there.
So yeah, it's the unknown, it's the blind spot. And of course that's part of teaching people, to overcome the blind spots. I think when it comes to blind spots, that conversation is like, you feel like you always have to have the answer. Well, come on, Shannon, do you know of anybody who has the answer to everything?
No.
Well, I do know. Do I?
I
don't either. And I don't think there's one person. I don't know. If so, put in the comment section that you are the person, because I want to know who you are. But none of us know. So I think you have to it's overcoming the unknown and just trusting yourself and believing, which leads me,
trusting yourself.
Yeah. So, I teach people how to trust your gut and how, make intuition your oracle. And real simple. And I'll share the strategy here with your listeners. I use these 4 key words and write them down because this will serve you. If you're taking on a new client or wondering if you should take the project or if you should launch the new business or whatever, ask yourself these 4 words. Does it feel light and expansive, or does it feel heavy and contracted? Because if it's light and expansive, the answer is yes, go for it. You need to do it 100%. Okay. Even if you don't have the answer of how you're going to do it, as long as the feeling that you're immersed in is very light, very expansive, very full of possibility, then it's a yes. If there's an area of it that feels heavy or constricted, like the weight of it, then you need to stop yourself and say, okay, why does it feel so heavy? Like if we could remove that weight, what's the weight and how could we do it?
Yeah. Is there a solution?
It's, so it's a gut check and asking yourself, because your intuition tells you a lot. As entrepreneurs, we have to chart the path. It's not necessarily charted for us. We're in an area in a business that has the most resistance, not the least resistance. And so trusting yourself, like keying in on strategies like this and ways that you can do that is very, very powerful. So if you ask yourself, is it light and expansive or heavy and contracted? Ask yourself, why does it feel so heavy? Because you can remove the weight, or you just say,
don't
no,
necessarily
don't
give
do
up.
it.
You just have to figure out why.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's little things that you can do that can help you, overcome the risk, have the greater confidence. And I always say too, accolades and accomplishments fuel your self-confidence. So document what you've achieved, revel in it. What have you been recognized for? Because when you have that day of doubt, go back to that list.
I love that. I tell my girlfriends, I have some of my girlfriends and they think, well, I don't have a business and I'm still working for someone else and I'm not making this much money, but they're so good at what they do. And then they, it's okay to be really, really proud of yourself. And it's okay to talk about how proud you are. It drives me crazy when people think just because you're like, oh my God, I got the best compliment today, that somehow that's bragging or conceited. No,
it's not awesome. If it's true. Okay. But here's the thing. It's not bragging. It's not conceited if it is fact.
Exactly.
Okay?
You're not embellishing or gloating, but you're
it's like when I come on here and I say I took profits up 220% in 180 days. That's a fact. Right?
That's a fact.
So numbers don't lie.
Take it up with you.
Yeah. So it becomes a statistic. So same thing applies to our wins, so as long as it is a fact base, and I always encourage people, speak your success, nothing less. Okay. And this is the reason why. If you run into somebody at the grocery store, you haven't seen them for a long time, and they ask you, how you doing? How you been? You say, fine. Okay. Well, that's where the conversation ends. versus how you doing? And you can say, oh my God, you know what? I was just on Shannon Confidential's podcast episode that I just got in front of thousands of people. The team just launched a whole new product and a promotion that we're going to do. And we just had and hit our fourth quarter goal in advance of what we had, projected.
I tell you what, I'd walk away from your conversation going, all right, let's get to work.
What I just did.
Going, hi, Brendon Marlo, she's fine.
Yeah, I made myself very polarizing and very tantalizing, because then that conversation can go, they're like, okay, like you're moving a mountain in that space. So speaking that success, it doesn't have to be boastful, state of the facts, but then they're going to say, oh my God, how did you do that? Well, there may be somebody who wants to make that their reality, and then you become an extension for them just because you were able to share what you've achieved. And so It doesn't have to be a negative. But what's the difference here is like, oh, I'm fine versus having accomplished these things. Life is meant to be lived, and we got to go all in or just stay on the sideline. So I'm going to encourage anybody who's listening, go all in, man, have fun doing it, get egg on your face, fall flat a few times, but then just love getting back up and going for it again.
You're going to learn something even from every failure. And I truly believe in that. And I know sometimes when this is like one of my little checks and balances. If I want to do something and I have that little, I know I can do this, it's probably going to be great, but it's a little bit risky, or I'm going to have to learn a lot because I want to do it, but I don't know how to do it yet. So you got to dive into it and start doing research. I'll start talking about, I have a plan to do this, because somehow to me, if I know I've said it out loud to people, that makes me accountable. And I am never going back to tell somebody I failed at it. I mean, so that's my little way to keep myself in check. I'll talk about it because now I know I got to step up, and the more I talk about it, and then the next step I get to, and the next step I get to, I hold myself accountable, because if I fail, I will talk about it because I'm about to do something to make up for that.
Yeah.
But it holds me accountable to keep trying.
Well, tell your friends, like, hey, hold me in check, ask your team, find somebody in your circle who can hold you to it, because put it out there and share it. And there's no mistake in doing that, and so I think if people hear this message, I mean, we be bold, be a maverick, and that maverick is that unbridled independent, right? That person who's willing to take the risk and to chart out on a path by themselves and see what they can actually do. So, life is to be lived, like I said. I mean, talk to somebody who's been in my circumstance of diagnosis in life, I think that just kind of gives you even more momentum and grit to just say, like, what the hell? Why not?
Yeah, even for, and to anybody out there listening that might be going through medical challenges, our heart goes out to you. But don't give up on yourself. It's that focus, that dedication, that confidence, that kick-ass spirit is going to get you through your medical experience, and you'll come out better on the other side and still be successful. Look at Marlo. So even if you're listening and things aren't quite right, don't give up.
Yep. So be the torch for somebody. I mean, and that's how I look at it. It's not about me. It's like, God, if I can help somebody else. And when you share that, I've been in the hospital where you're going into the MRI, and, you kind of all sit together in a joint waiting room, and you're all sitting there with your gown on. And I remember, older gentleman looking at me, and he was just freaked out, right? He didn't think he had it in him. And I'm like, oh, brother, it's nothing. Go in there, pop some, some earbuds in or whatever. And, it's a long process to be, into a test like that, if anybody's not been through an MRI, but, just passing the torch and just saying, you can do this. That's everything. And we came out.
Yes.
Yeah, we were both back in the lockers, with our medical gowns on. I'm like, how was it? And he's like, actually, it wasn't as bad. So like what you said is absolutely true. And I said, see, it's just the unknown, but you can do anything.
That you're just remarkable, Marlo. I am just so thankful, not only that I got a chance to meet you, but that so many of the guests have now heard what made me go, all right, this woman's incredible. She is, and you're going to hear me say it several times now, the bomb for a reason. And your energy, your positiveness, your discipline. There's so many people that lack discipline, but you don't. And it's invigorating. It's inspiring. It's everything. That discipline is priceless.
Yeah. So don't sit on the sidelines. I mean, thank you, Shannon. That's a beautiful compliment. And again, I'm just being me, right? I'm just bringing the gifts forward that I've been given. And I think that we all have it inside of us. And so don't be shy, just show up and be the best you possible. Call yourself out when you're scared. Just, give me grace if I don't have the answer, whatever it is, but just keep showing up. More than anything, show up.
I love your message. Again, everybody, I will link you up to everything, Marlo. And if there's anything, I think we've got it because at the end we were like 2021, but now we're going into 2022. And if there's anything, Marlo, sweet Lord, if there's anything more that you're going to do, please come back and be on the show and just be the inspiration to the next group of people that can just learn so much from you and on your next accomplishment, because you're not done. You're not even.
No. Okay. But I'm going to leave this last message with your crew. And this is a mantra that I've lived by is a setback is a setup for a comeback. So if you are ever finding yourself in a situation where you've had a setback, just believe that is going to be the biggest setup for your greatest comeback. And I think when you can tell yourself that and you position it, that you'll achieve and get through those setbacks a little bit easier. So a setback is a setup for a comeback. And that's just one that I've lived by. And that's a message that I really want to share with as many people as possible.
That is beautiful. And let's all just go in peace and with those words from Marlo Higgins. Thank you so much, Marlo.
Thanks, Shannon. This was awesome.
Hey, everybody, see the red subscribe button? Please click it. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.